With all this wonderful stuff, yes, Sonidal's doing well. We're a company of 6, so we're made up of a graphic designer and 3 developers of various skill sets, myself who runs projects, and then we somehow expand sometimes to more development teams depending on what we need. So for example, if we need an illustrator for something or a specialist interface designer, all those kinds of specialists we do still work with on different bases. But just a couple of tips in terms of if you do consider and you do start up on your own is your cash flow. That's super critical. If you don't have money, you can't live and you can't make beautiful, cool things. So the best thing I ever did was make friends with my bank manager. That really helped. I do say that I'm a project manager, but I very firmly believe that there is no such thing. It's very much managing people. And a large part of my job is managing expectations, and that would be of the client. You need to be honest with them. You need to tell them when you're in trouble or when you're running late. But at the end of the day, it's very much a people-based job, although I am officially known as a geek, even by my developers, in terms of what you need to know about development, about technologies, about databases, about design, about servers. Always keep your paperwork in order. Even if it's a friend, especially if it's a friend, and you'll rely on a lot of friend links when you're starting up, is make sure that you've got a piece of paper in place to say who's expecting what. It avoids all sorts of trouble later, and you can just, you know, those relationships remain clean and pure as such. Network, very, very much, in terms of people who think the same as you do. For example, my mum, bless her, still thinks that I work in IT, which really isn't quite what I do. So what I do is I have a great support network of people who are brilliant Flash coders, who are top-level designers, book designers, all sorts. We hang out, we have roundtables, and we bounce ideas off each other. And we also use each other for advice in terms of how to deal with difficult or tricky situations, because they do come along every now and again. And as I said before, take breaks. So today, we're pretty much a happy working commercial shop. We grow in a measured way. It is quite calm, although you do have your stressful periods. But what I'm going to do is just quickly show you
about 5 minutes,
a couple of things. Oh, sorry. I'll be very, very fast. So what we're doing with media today is building spaces where media can be showcased. A lot of the requirements at the moment, sorry, that one's loading, I'll come back to it, is developing features where clients can evolve rich media content. So for example, this is a paint manufacturer, and no, it's not like watching paint dry, because what we did with them is we built a fantastic color wheel selection in Flash, which is one of the hardest things we had to build. They've got a selection of 800 colors that apply to different paints. And the reason this was so cool was A, it's visually quite pleasing, but it works for architects who are the primary target audience for this manufacturer. So they can select paint, which is an intuitive, touchable thing, tangible selection, and then from there go straight through to your detail and a shopping process. So it is a piece of good design. It's a piece of quite hard to do technical bits, but at the end of the day, it's useful for an end user. So it is really quite delightful to do it. On a more stable note, where design is concerned, sometimes we get ideal clients who allow us to play with topography a little bit. So it's not so much rich media or singing, dancing things, but it allows us to have sort of beautiful looking sites that does do the functions, you know, back in things, uploading reports and things that suit customers. So that can be beautiful. Also in terms of education institutions like yourselves, we play, this is a technology called Ajax, which allows us to move the interface about. This site is supported by a webcam, so the background changes every hour. It's a view onto the plane of the course. What makes the site fun is A, it was technically challenging to evolve it. I'm not that crazy about the interface myself, but it's a great sort of way to allow people to break what you've curated. So every time someone comes to the site, they change how it looks and how it works, quite literally. And then in terms of, you know, sort of real media world, I don't know, I'll just play one of these things. What we do a lot these days on client request is playing with things like getting media everywhere. So we're starting to need to develop with things like tagging, so you've got rich media everywhere, voting, social media, sending to friends, all those kinds of things. So from that point of view, never a day goes by without a challenge, never a day goes by without learning. And even though we're developing in a very commercial environment, you still get to do fun stuff. And I think, yeah, that's about it.
Well,
thanks.
Thank you.